Selector.
This one goes out to you and yours. Worldwide, I say, hey, I'll be gone today, but I'll be back from around the way. Seems like everywhere I go, the more I see.
Hi, welcome back. This is another short teaser video about Google alignments. Sometimes when we get into the bigger alignments, we miss how interesting these small singular alignments are. So this is from the Freedom Tower to the Washington Monument, and it has 2004.14 miles, and this is in the opposite direction of the 44.77 heading of the Georgia Guidestones to the Freedom Tower. And so the opposite, what they're saying here, the opposite of that heading is 232.83. So you have your 23 and your 32 in what I would call a Vesica Pisces gematria, and that kind of makes sense. You can see the Vesica Pisces here in the subject matter. And then here we have 24, we have a gateway of 24, like the day is a gate. I'm wondering if that has something to do with the shadow. You know, that the shadow would change during a day. I really haven't looked at the shadow of the Washington Monument, but we also have the way sign here, again, in the double 714. When the 14 is also, as Casey from Men of the Stars has told us, is really important in the 28-year aspect of the length of time that the Twin Towers were allowed to stand. Now, I feel like the overarching aspect of that is the rotation of the sun when viewed by the Earth. And even though this sounds like a sun number, most of the Venus teachers, or the teachers who have Venus aspects in their symbolism, revere the sun number 28. And this is our actual month. People think that the women follow the moon. No, you actually follow the rotation of the sun, and so there's actually a radiation pattern of the sun. It changes the radiation, polarity of the particles change. I believe, I think I read this last month, so I'm kind of going on memory. I believe they change several times a day, if not every other day, but there's a 28-day pattern. And as we know from people who claim to track the moon like they do moon magic, like they do something on the full moon, or they pay attention to the moon. This is actually the growth cycle and the diminishing radiation cycle of the sun, and the moon just happens to perhaps be a clock, a visual clock by its shape for that, but they're actually using the number 28 for manifestation, as was the people who decided to leave, the Rothschilds, who decided to leave the World Trade Centers up for 28 years. They were nodding toward the manifestation power of the sun, and we know what they're trying to manifest. So that's your clue about that number is kind of, it's like a manifestation tool to them. It's a cycle of time. I think that we all experience this in a more of a natural, fundamental way on our world, and we are meant to notice that what, the seeds that we plant, we sow, and the first sign of those seeds, depending on how pure your heart is, shows up, either earlier than 28 days, but for most people you can see, if you have applied yourself for 28 days in thought, pattern, and diligence, you will see the fruits of your labor, for sure, within 28 days. So this is half of that. Besides being the way, I think it's a nod to the way. And here we have the 11 with the 83. Oh, we have a 7-11. Okay, that's important to mention. I keep wanting to do a 7-11 video. So the 232 is also a 7, and the 83 is also 11. And that is the sacred symbolism of the pyramid, the sacred geometry ratios that are embedded in the pyramid, and it does have to do with our convenience stores. Yes. Maybe I'll just go into it real quick right now. Okay, so our convenience stores are 7-Elevens. If you go look at them, and they probably all have, you know, pretty precise addresses and directions as well. If you look at their sign on the street, it has a red, looks like a comet, coming through the V and the E of Eve. And in my last video, oh no, actually I haven't put that up yet. I'm doing something that has to do with, oh, I won't go into that aside. Okay, so Eve, in a nutshell, decodes from the letter M, and that's because the M separates it from an I to a V to an I again, if you take it apart structurally. So anyway, 7-Eleven. So the comet comes through the 11, and it comes through the specific parts of the word. But if you look at it, a lot of their artwork has the green going all the way around on the outside. But if you look at the signs that are on the street, the green is actually a valley. And you actually have a valley of death. So, and also the valley of death psalm is a 23rd psalm. So we can see that I'm not making it up, because they used 23s and 32 mirror to make up their 7 right here. And I hadn't noticed that before until today, that that's how you can make a 7. Well, anyway, yea, though I walk through the valley of shadow of death, I shall not fear, for you are at my side. This is actually a psalm written about Anunnaki gods. And they were powerful, and they were protective, you know, but they weren't loyal. They would kill their own people, you know, in a dispute with, you know, their counterparts. They weren't loving or benevolent. They didn't seem to have deep morals. I think Enki tried to stop the nuclear wars, but I think he might be the only god who spoke out against, I don't even like using the word god, Anunnaki, the only Nephilim who spoke out against using nuclear wars, and they killed millions of people and devastated the earth with their nuclear war, the first nuclear war that happened in 2024 BC, which you are not taught about in your Vatican-sponsored schools. All your public schools, all your churches, all your Christian churches, I don't care what kind of church it is, it's Vatican. All your schools, all your community colleges, all of them. Private, especially Catholic private, but all of them are Catholic. So that's why you learned it that way. I learned it that way too. I went to Catholic school. I went to public school. I went to church. Yep. My kids can't relate. I never made them go to church. Well, okay, so here's 7-Eleven. So that was the Valley of the Shadow of Death. And those are on every corner, just about. And they are predicting something in the month of Tishrei. They're predicting, this is also a Hebrew date on the Hebrew calendar. Okay, so that's my 7-Eleven in short. Alright, this was my super short video. Now it's 8 minutes. Alright, love you guys. Hope you're having a good day. See you later.